Yeah, there's definitely parties at school. I was avoiding going back to school because I knew that my roommates were going to do that. I knew that they were going to go to parties, and I knew that they were going to get COVID. But they had been there for about 3-4 weeks, and they were doing all that stuff. And I was like, okay, they haven't got it yet. So I went for one night, literally one night, and that was the one night that everyone got COVID. I live in kind of like a townhouse complex, and there's a bunch of houses in a row, and we normally just hang out with each other and party with each other. It's kind of like the agreement that we had, so that we wouldn't get COVID and we wouldn't spread COVID. But two of my roommates went out to a freshman party, and they came back and ended up spreading it to 12 people. Everyone was freaking out. It was bad. It was not good.
I think we got all the strands of COVID that night.
It's gross.
It was gross.
Dude, they went to this party across the street because they were just popping, and
it was Bruno's frat, actually.
Yeah, it was Bruno's frat.
He was bludgeoning when I was in his studio.
The yard itself, like the front yard, was packed.
No shit. Like,
full of people.
Yeah, trying to get in. Dude, like, they're in, like,
I can only imagine what the house looked
in, like. Frat. Dude, we walked in that basement. Me and Nick walked in that basement with the keg, and they went off. It was so funny. Like, as soon as we stepped down the stairs and walked in, it was filled. There was at least 100 people in there, and I was like, yep, COVID.
How did the frat, like, who lived in that house, and are they in jail? Like, well, how do you get away with that?
Coronavirus is real.
It's obviously real.
Corona is actually very dangerous.
It's ghetto.
So I don't think there's any need to call it fake.
And sad to say it, it's like surreal.
It is a disease and it does kill people. People should be social distancing and wearing their mask.
I definitely think that it's of serious risk. Kind of hate it here. I kind of want to go back to my normal life.
And there are people who think it's a hoax. Even our own president thought it's a hoax, and now he's in the hospital.
I think that it's kind of been blown out of proportion just a little bit.
I think it's definitely real, but I also think that it's made to be a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, a gathering is different. Like, if it's people I know and it's only gonna be like a couple people, then I'll go. But if it's just like a straight up party, no.
If you know the what's up, you're like, yo, you know the spot, like, you know this and that.
People aren't like, they think that it doesn't exist anymore just because like cases are low.
I have not been to bigger parties, but I've been to, like, they call them gatherings, but they are parties, yeah. But they're like smaller. They're only like 10, 12 people at the one I've been to.
It was just like a kind of like a bigger gathering of friends, but like a couple different friend groups. I'm not going to say people are going to other people's dorms, but you usually don't have music blaring that loud unless there's other people in there.
Yeah, it's like last year, if I was invited to a party, I would go, like, even if I didn't, like, necessarily know the person. But now, like, I would only go to, like, parties where I know, like, only a few people are going to be there.
And I have been invited to some here, and I declined because, one, I don't want to get in trouble, and two, I don't want to catch the COVID.
I've been invited and I've heard about them. I haven't went though. In my hometown though, I partied on the weekends, you know, whenever I knew that there was one.
I'm not gonna lie about that, I have done that. Usually when I do it though, I'm with lots of people that I do know, but granted, I am putting myself in a situation where it could be dangerous and is against many people's values, morals, but I have.
You know, I'd rather be safe and, you know, sadly do homework than to go out. But, no, I haven't been, and I hope a lot of people haven't as well, because, like, it's dead-ass real.
No, I went to, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. There's absolutely no one with a mask on. No one cared. It was just a regular party.
Definitely not the same. I have went to parties last year and I have this year, and I just know in the back of everyone's head was, oh my gosh, this is actually a lot of people all in once. And you know what? We're all not wearing masks. And that is something that has almost became something that we feel like we need to do. If we don't have a mask on, we're kind of like, holy mackerel, what are we doing? And especially when we're around this many people, it is a little scary, but you also need to put yourself first and the people that you love first. And so if you feel uncomfortable, leave. If you don't, you could stay. It's kind of up to your personal opinion.
When I found out, I waited a couple days so that the test would have a better chance of coming back as what it should be, positive or negative. And that one came back negative, but a couple days after that, I was having symptoms like runny nose, a slight cough, and body aches, but it didn't seem to be COVID because I got the result back. And then a month went by, and I wanted to come home for my birthday, and my parents had me go get a COVID test, and it was months later. I had no contact with anybody that had COVID, and I was just assuming it was going to be arbitrary and it would come back negative, and it came back positive. So
for the second straight night, Halloween partying putting public health at risk. New York Sheriff's deputy shutting down a nearly 400-person affair Friday in Brooklyn, only to crash this Bronx bash 24 hours later. Officials say 557 plus people, all in violation of emergency stay-at-home orders.
I know a kid that goes to UB, and he actually stayed with a friend in Brockport to go to a bunch of Brockport parties for Halloween weekend. When he came back to UB, he was randomly tested like all the colleges were doing, and it turned out he had COVID. So basically, he could have spread it to everyone at all the parties that he went to in both Brockport and Buffalo.
Deaths in the U.S. hitting 230,556. And according to an internal memo from the Department of Health and Human Services obtained by ABC News, cases are on an upward trajectory in just about the entire country. ABC's Trevor Ault reports from New York City.
This morning, as states repeatedly shatter coronavirus records, officials continue to sound the alarm.
This disease is unrelenting. It doesn't care about what the location is.
According to an internal HHS memo obtained by ABC News, 48 states, all except Nebraska and Delaware, are seeing cases rise, and deaths are climbing in 29 states.
I got COVID-19 back on November 6th.
I tested positive for COVID on the 12th of November. I got my result back on the 15th.
So I got it on a Monday, or it was exposed on a Monday, and didn't have symptoms till Friday night.
I tested positive for COVID on November 12th, I want to say.
Where I had gotten it from, I believe, was from a hockey league that I'm in. You know, having to go get the test taken, waiting for the results, getting the positive results. So it's really an ordeal that lasts more than, 10 days, 14 days, really.
Symptoms included severe headache for an extended period of time, severe muscle fatigue and ache, as well as just general fatigue.
And just came home and was super tired, and then I had a fever for, a slight bit for probably like an hour or two. I got up to 100.5, got tested, and then the waiting game began, which is probably, the worst part. Like, do you have it, do you not?
My symptoms were really tired, a lot of tightness in my chest. I have asthma, so even now still it's like, take deep breaths. I couldn't taste anything or smell anything, and I still can't really taste much or smell much. But other than that, I never had a fever, and sometimes people will only test you if you have a fever, so you can still have it without having a fever.
Wasn't from a party or anything like that, but it is definitely a real thing, I'm a runner, so I love to run, I go probably 4 miles every other day, if not every day. And when I had it, I couldn't even walk 2 miles without having to take a nap. afterwards, which was a change. But it's definitely real. It's not just that you're sick; it's like that you can get other people sick, which is the worst part. I think the most anxiety that I got from it was probably just who did you talk to, going through your whole day of who did I talk to without a mask on, like did I get them sick, and if they're sick and they haven't gotten tested, who did they talk to, and you really can see how the super spreaders can really have this virus travel, a great distance within, just something that I was trying to do to be healthy. We were following the rules that they had at the rink, and it ended up like 6 guys on our team ended up testing and testing positive for the virus. So it was definitely from that hockey game that I went to. So needless to say, haven't went back there yet. So definitely gonna not continue to do that for sure. But it's a real thing. Something I know a lot of people think that they're kind of invincible to, which I thought with exercising every day. But yeah, if you're somebody has symptoms, you're gonna get it. If you're right next to them, you're gonna get it for sure.
So I found out I had COVID on my birthday. I was shocked. I didn't know anybody at the time. I wasn't around anybody. I was at my apartment. I just went from my apartment to the grocery store and to the bar, and I was gonna have a birthday party that day, but I ended up canceling it. But people still came that already had COVID, so it was like it was a COVID party. The only attendees, the requirement was that you had COVID.
I think the biggest problem in college towns is off-campus housing. That's where we live. That's where we live. And we have cameras all around our property. And I will tell you that on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, on any other year, we'll have 100 to 150 people walk down to group college parties of 30 to 50. We had none. I'll have 1 or 2 kids walking by my house at night. We live in the best college town.
I believe in it. At this point, though, like, I'm over it. I guess like all the like everything like being shut down. I'm over the classes being just you're pretty much half there. Death rates are super, super, super low. Like, and they're lower compared to like when it first came. So it's like I don't know. I want normalcy back to a degree. Obviously, masks I think are still an important thing and all that, but like. Yeah, I don't think it's as much of a danger now as it was, 6 months ago.
I have precautions, but I'm not like mask or, so anal. Like my kids still go to the park, do things, but with the weather, it's been a struggle too. So I guess I didn't expect it to last this long.
I don't really care if I get COVID. It's just more so if I don't want to give it to people. So yeah, the masks, I definitely follow all that.
I don't mind doing it for security of others. I don't feel like they completely work because people are still getting it through the school districts, and obviously they can get it somewhere else, but you're usually wearing a mask somewhere else. So you know what I mean? And I feel like part of it goes with washing your hands. You can't just wear a mask. You also need to stay clean. So I'm like, don't mind doing it for others, but I don't feel like I like it.
People at risk like us really need to take precautions, and people around us, we expect them to do that too. And in this town, in this village, people have.
So it's believed right now that if you get it within the 3 months, you have antibodies and you can't get it, you can't transmit it again, or at least during that time, you can't get it and transmit it. If you go down, or if you drive down the roads like where all the frats are, you can clearly tell that there's still parties going on.
Oh no, but the cops didn't show.
What?
Yeah.
It's on Windspear too. They drive down there all.
Yeah.
They probably just knew and didn't want to.
I think they were pretty lenient on Halloween, not gonna lie, or they just didn't want
Well,
to do it
that's
themselves.
they knew they would have to fuck over a bunch of people.
I went for one night, literally one night, and that was the one night that everyone got COVID. And the last thing that I wanted to do was bring COVID back to my family because one, My father and my sister are high risk, and it would almost certainly result in them being hospitalized. My father's business, it's only him. He would have to shut down. I was with my grandfather, I was with my parents. It was a terrible situation.
While making this film, we were under the threat of the coronavirus. We put ourselves in vulnerable situations, and we were vulnerable to the disease. By the end of filming, I managed to contract COVID-19.
While making this film, over 20 of my family members contracted coronavirus. 3 of them were hospitalized, and 1 of them passed away. My father tested positive yesterday, and my entire household is quarantined until Christmas Day.